bring you back. How you doing, brother?
Jack Sidey.
Great to see you. Happy Wednesday, July 20th to all the people. Welcome to the 180 Way Show. We are fully branded. Look, up in the corner, we have a real logo now over there. We got a real logo. So we're off and running. Mike, tell folks who you are.
Mike Tanker, same team selling. Coach Mike. The difference we have is my wife's a phenomenal trainer. She trains a Sandler-esque method called the Elevate system. And what makes us different is that we help reinforcement by me coaching the management team. And so they're reinforcing the skills to make it easy so that instead of just throwing money out the window saying we trained and check the box, we've got a whole new methodology that helps people not only get trained, but have it stick and make a difference in their bottom line.
Yes. Can highly recommend. Same team selling. Amazing. We've used that at my company. Amazing. Angel and Mike do great work. So my name is Jack Sidey. Welcome to the show, the 180 Way Show. We have rebranded finally, got a logo. And so purpose of what we do is really to take a lot of folks, as we know if you're in the sales business trying to make it world, a lot of things we hear, going to shows or go to the right conference or go to the right school, or if you read the right book, you'll get there. And the reality is most of that doesn't work. If you look behind the scenes at all the coaching and the seminars, if you're in that world, having peeked behind the door, a lot of those folks just want to make money. They're like, how do I have a six-figure coaching practice? How do I get to a six-figure training practice? And it's really not about the success of the person attending. It's about their success financially. And so really that always rubs me the wrong way. And so that's where the 180 Way really comes from. It's about jumping into how you're going to be successful and really doing it opposite of almost everything you hear out there or have heard as you endeavor to be successful. And just on a personal note, I lived that, went out, got 3 degrees, went to all the seminars, tried to study all the right things, read all the books. And at 30 years old, 31, I just sat and I was lost, literally sincerely lost, and just couldn't figure out how to get there. And so as we talk about the 180 Way and step 4 today, which is get comfortable being uncomfortable, really comes from Mike and I and a group of us that are behind the scenes put together the 180 Way, just talking to people and meet with them and interviewing and be like, how do you get there, right, Mike? What share your secrets? And that's how we got here, right?
Yeah, it's been great. And the journey has been, we always, one of the things I think is so indicative of the truth is that we say we're going to go from point A to point B, and it's a straight line. And I don't think I've walked a straight line more than 4 steps in my entire life. Like, it is just, we're kind of in a crooked world. That it's round anyway. You're walking on a round ball. It's easy. It's hard to walk straight lines. And so, but
I was looking for a squiggly line. I have a squiggly line image somewhere, but I can't find it.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, but it's interesting that it's so important that we enjoy the journey instead of trying to say, hey, I'm going to be happy when I get to point B, and learn to enjoy the struggle, right? We like, as you and I are Christians, we hear this all the time that, well, if we're having a struggle today, where's God in all this? Well, we've learned that struggles where we grow, struggles where we learn, struggles where we reflect inside, right? And we come out of struggle better, stronger, faster, right? I don't know if anybody remembers $6 Million Man. You want to go way back in the time machine, but we're going to make them better, stronger, faster, and that's what struggle does for all of us, right? It literally makes us bionic and that we can do more than we ever thought we could before. And we look back on some of the things that if somebody said, hey, here's what you're going to go through in the next 3 months, you said, not me, I won't make it. Like, I couldn't do that. And we see other people go through struggles. Like, I hope that doesn't come to my house because that'll crush me. But here's what's so neat is so many of us have gotten to the other side. We've gotten beyond the struggle, and we look back and we can smile and we say, wow.
I said that to Steph the other day. I was like, if I knew what the last year would have been, forget COVID, just my personal life, we've moved a couple of times. I've been like, no way, I'm not signing up for that. So true. God gives us only what we could take at the time. And thank the Lord for that. Because if we knew it was coming, a lot of times we turn around and go the other way. So today's topic is going to be get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And so before we jump into that, I want to just thank our folks over at i.help. They are our sponsors of the show. If you're unfamiliar with i.help, amazing platform. They literally aggregate all of your online stuff into one spot. So that's everything. Whatever web conferencing system your company or you use today, it's there. All of your online scheduling stuff, if you want to share it, it's there. Your social media stuff, all of your social media links, any of the websites you have personally, your company website, if you have a podcast, anything you're doing online, you can set up electronic payments there, do all your emails, calls, messages, share large files, blah, 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 blah. i.help, amazing, $5 literally a month. Go sign up for your i.help account. Love that solution. It is the wave of the future. I always say, when everyone has an i.help account 2 or 3 years from now, you're going to wish you had the right handle. So go sign up now so you can go get your name at i.help. And I think they also connect to any URL you want. So i.help is amazing. So
yeah, I think it's so cool, Jack, that I'm always impressed with the people behind i.help. They've done, this will be the third thing they've done to bring technology or an application where somebody didn't see it before. Oh, that's not going to work. We don't need that. And then bam, how do we ever do life without it? This is the third swing, bite at the apple, if you will. And I just, I assume people are going to say, well, I don't need that. But if you really step back, it's like, it's really get your URL now, because this is going to take off.
Yeah, look, the people behind i.help, super smart Mensa. So amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, so listen, as we jump into today, so this is really step 4 in the 180 way, as you talk about kind of a life intervention, and send out this little meme post. It's like, to be outstanding, literally, it's to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And, I think a lot of people say, I don't think anyone, especially if you're type A, success driven, no one goes, I'd like to be kind of mediocre. You know what I mean? Like, you rarely hear that. And we're not talking about like necessarily being a millionaire or making a lot of money or living in the big house, It's like, hey, what gives you peace? What are you trying to get done? Again, that could be being a housewife, a house husband. That could be working in ministry. That could be volunteering or whatever. Some of it is the classical money, car, house type stuff. But it's like super hard. Like everyone's like, oh, I want to get there. I want to get there. And we always see everyone says it, but it's not necessarily willing to put in the work. So that's one. We hear that a lot, right? I don't think that's a new thought. But for me, I think the thing that's not talked about enough is like, hey, even if you're highly driven and willing to do the work, the problem is most people are not hardened or trained enough to handle the uncomfortable moments to get to success. So I just want to repeat that. Most people, a lot of people, they know you got to work hard. So they want to do that. But on the way to success, everybody, there are 3, 5, 10 super uncomfortable days, moments, weeks, sometimes months. And that's what people are not really ready to deal with. They're not ready to deal with the angst of, oh, my savings is really low, or I don't have a full-time job, or, oh, people around me are ostracizing me because I'm doing something different. I deal with people all the time. That's the part they're not ready for and try to get to success. They're okay working their rear end off, putting in the time. But the moment it kind of gets choppy and they, a part of their foundation gets uncomfortable, they almost either want to throw in the towel or get out. So it's that part people are not prepared for.
What's interesting too, Jack, is that it's not living outside of your comfort zone. Like, you don't have to like say, I'll never be in my comfort zone again. I'll never be on the recliner. I'll never watch whatever it is I watch to unplug. It's just being deliberate that you don't go through a whole day in your comfort zone, right? Like, even if it's 2 steps out, man, if you just string a bunch of days together with a few steps out of the comfort zone every single day,
right? Less of that.
less of that. And listen, I do that from somewhere after 6 o'clock every single day. I watch, one of my half hour, pardon the interruption, from ESPN. I watch it probably almost every day. Takes about 20 minutes when you zoom through the commercials. And that's my checkout, right? I just check out, check back in, but it can't become the day, right? It's like, you just need it's okay to have this, but the uncomfort, the discomfort, I think about some of the things that we've done in our careers, and I don't think I could survive if I lived in that kind of discomfort every single day, right? But it's because we endured those episodes, right? Those scenes in our lives. Like, I could have avoided that, or I could have just said, yes, I'm going through this. We'll see how far it goes. And just some really cool things have come out of that.
It is critical because again, I've met so many people and throughout my life and career, and I know with yours, Mike, it is like, yep, I'm ready to go all in, whatever comes, whether that's in athletics or career or in finances or in their relationships. Oh yeah, whatever it takes. And then when it comes, it's very interesting to watch people really almost come apart. Like they're like, this is not good. When people change jobs, you know, they go to a new job and they're like, oh, it's going to be so great there. And when they've left somewhere, they were the star. They knew all the stuff. They was very comfortable. Now they take a new position, which is normally a bump up. They get there and they forget because the first couple months is normally choppy. They're learning new processes. They're learning new people. They're creating new relationships. So the sales process or the in business environment is different. And they get so unnerved. And it's like, listen, that's how you get to the next level, right? It's this thing, like this little comfort zone that is around your shoes, your life. Like it's so counterintuitive because we consciously and subconsciously seek comfort. I mean, we're just wired. No one goes, today I want to have angst in my belly, right? We're wired to like, ooh, how do I want it to be easy. I don't want to have angst. I want to go to sleep peaceful, right? But for you to grow, get to your self-actualize, get to your ultimate self, it is like you have to stretch beyond what you've already known, or you'll just stay in your little bubble and then you are what you are.
You know, it's you know, you talk about that what are you putting off, right? By staying in your comfort zone, saying that ain't me, or that's not, you know, I'm not comfortable doing that, or I especially as we get older, we have expertise in some things that get so well developed, we may become less likely to take chances, right? And plus, we have a reputation now. You know, like when you're 21, you don't have a reputation. You just do whatever comes along. When you get to be a little bit older, you're like, well, you know, I've got a reputation to think about. And what's so interesting is that failing, if you want to get to the next level, you've got to be willing to have a couple of failures at this level. You've just got to be willing to do it. And if you become afraid, right, when you to maintain your reputation or your expertise status, you're basically, you've built the roof right over your head. People talk about going through a glass ceiling. You built it, right? When you say I'm not going to fail anymore, and listen, it's part of the deal. Like I stopped growing like physically because my knees give out. There were so many parts of going to the gym or exercising that I was literally just lining through things I used to do. Like, oh, don't do that anymore. Knees hurt too much. Oh, nope. And then one day I got my knees replaced. Right. I did not think I would get my knees replaced. I'm still a young candidate for double knee replacement, but what a life changer. Like I literally go down to a little fridge to take out the creamer for my coffee every day. And when I bend down, I still go, that is so cool. And they told me you do not want to do this. It's such an arduous, it's so hard. I did it. I've been through much worse than recovering from knee replacement in my life. And I would do it. They were like, well, you're going to have to do it again. I would do it every 10 years for the benefits I've received already. Like it's people keep trying to tell you that people are telling us to stay comfortable. Like, oh, that's going to be hard. Oh, no, you don't want.
Yeah,
no.
that's it.
I'm like, I want the hard. No. Let me look out for you. You don't want to. People, it's so funny. You've got to choose your who, you know, the voices in your head or the voices, not the ones in your head. You don't get to choose those, but the ones from the outside, right? You get to choose who you're listening to, and you got to tune in. The people that are trying to, even the best of intentions, but if they're trying to keep you in your comfort zone for your own good, it's not good.
Well, here, I think we have a couple graphics. Like, so it's so interesting. The team put this together. It's amazing. These are things, right, that people typically think about, like outside my comfort zone, right? The whole public speaking, or, you know.
Well, it's funny, Jack. The two people jumping, one's jumping out of an airplane, one's jumping off a cliff.
Yeah.
More people are afraid of the little girl with the microphone, right? More people are afraid of public speaking than of jumping out of a perfectly good airplane.
Yeah. But and those people adventure seekers, right, go after those things to like stretch them. Like it's so interesting. In the world of athletics, if you've played a sport or if you've been in competitive athletics, you know that you have to like push your body past what's normal or what's comfortable. It's literally the pain in it, lifting weights and running and, and all the agility drills. It literally, that is the thing. If you follow any sport, you always show the videos of the athletes in the off season doing all that stuff. We know that in our physical makeup. It's almost commonplace now. If you join a gym, you're going to be in some, circuit training and some, cardio stuff, and you're going to get uncomfortable and you're going to sweat and you're going to be sore the next day. And we got it. It's very interesting. We've not evolved yet to take that same attitude about our emotions and our fortitude and like what our mindset is, because it's very, very similar. Just like in athletics, lifting, running, you're not going to get to the next level unless you push beyond what makes you comfortable, like severely. The fact you feel like it's going to kill you, right? But we have to do the same thing in our mindset, in our career, in what we're thinking and doing. If we think it's going to be easy to get to be a multimillionaire or run your own company or establish your life so you can work from home or not have to work at all, it's not. It only looks easy after it's done, right? The team that wins a Super Bowl or the World Series, oh, look, that's awesome. But you don't see all the things most of the time, what happens behind the scenes, or what, all the famous people we talked about the first half of this year, from you name it, Oprah to Tom Brady to, et al. Like, how did they get there? And it's full of bumps in the road. And mostly the difference between the people that make it and don't make it, the ones that make it are able to get through that. They don't turn around. They don't implode. They don't shut down. They don't go back to their comfort zone. They stay out there and get refined in the fire, right?
What's interesting is in the NBA, there's if you watch any sports shows at all, there's about 5 names that show up in the sports talk every day now, right? There's 5 names, and it's none of it's really positive. None of it's like, oh, this is the guy I want to be like when I grow up. It's drama. It's disappointing people and people not wanting to be on the team they're on. I want to be on the team. I want to be traded. Well, in all of that, right? There's I'm drawing a blank on his name. He's the guy that went from the Oklahoma City. He went to the Rockets, and then he went to
James Harden. James
Harden just said, "I'll take a $15 million pay cut to be on this team because I'm committed to it and helping this team win."
Yeah.
And I thought, he's one of the drama names that comes up so many times.
Amen.
And here's a guy that says, "I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm not," and that's what the sportscasters don't think athletes are capable of when they talk about them. Like, the talking heads are always putting down different athletes, and they seem astonished when an athlete goes, "You know what? I tried it this way. It's not working that way. I'm going to step out of my comfort zone. I'm going to try a different way because what I've done so far isn't getting me to where I want to go."
Yeah. For me, you've heard this. I love David Goggins. David obviously swears too much, I think, for any normal human being. But if you've not read this book or even more listened to it or followed his story, like, he is the epitome of like mentally working through what your limits are. And again, his focus is a lot on him personally. He's an ultra athlete, amazing. But his lessons are all about us in our life, each one of us. Like, hey, like mentally, he connects when you're out doing something physical, your brain, back to the caveman days, is trying to survive, persevere. So it's trying to shut down when you are doing something difficult. It wants to just stay in the safe zone. But like, when you could take control of your mind and know that's just a old school caveman fight or flight dynamic, and knowing, I think one of his things is like, when you feel like you're done physically, you're only like 60% of the way home. You got another 40% of you when you're done. When you think you're done, I'm exhausted, I can't make it anymore. And so he talks about taking over the power of your brain. And that is just so important when you think about life events and being uncomfortable, because you're going to run into things. And if you do not prepare yourself for that, it's going to be problematic. You're going to no one gets to the top. No one gets to the top smoothly. It's a squiggly line, 100%.
What's really one of the coolest things about Goggins is that he taught me that we're at 40% of our potential when our body says that's enough. That's enough. The body, our mind has a 60% safety buffer built in if we don't, at default, right? If we don't do anything to train it otherwise, we literally are saying, we start freaking out. I can't breathe.
40, is it 40 or 60? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like he says you're only at 40%. Like you've got, more than half left in the tank, but you can't. Your body convinces you you're dying, and that's what a lot of us have experienced, like the burning lungs, the fact that you feel like there's no more moisture, not only in your body but within a mile radius. Like it's like it's crazy, but you've got to him and basically almost any bodybuilder on the planet has had to hack their body. They had to hack and trick it and convince it the body's okay, because otherwise, if you keep working out the way the first kid did at 16 years old to build the bodies that the bodybuilders are building today, they would have to work out 26 hours a day because the body is just fighting against them. The body's constantly saying, you're not going to hurt me again. You're not going to hurt me again. And you're not going to hurt me again. So it's building up all these buffers and everything and resistance. So the CrossFit and all these other different things are all ways to just confuse your body that you're not hurting it, right? Like it's to convince
all these things. Yep.
Yeah, right. It's like nobody started out at 16 going, I think I'm going to hump a tire around the parking lot. But somebody said we've got to trick our bodies. And the rope, I mean, so it's almost like looking at these pictures. Our team did, I don't even know if our team thought about this, but the lifting traditional squats, that's got a limitation of what it can do for you. That tire requires 4 different muscle groups to move. And the crazy ropes, there's nothing like those ropes unless you've done them. You have no idea how hard they are to do that for more than 30 seconds. And you see people doing it. Their mind and their body is just, I mean, I don't even know what it's thinking at that point, because you have several breakthroughs to get that done.
Yeah. And I just want to kind of reemphasize this point about, in the world of physical development, it's got to be tough, and all the things we just showed, it's accepted. So now it's like, hey, what are the things you can do to harden yourself emotionally and, again, mindset wise, so that when it gets uncomfortable, you're okay. And a lot of different settings, right, for that, which we'll talk about. But for me, one of the things I've said and say to my kids and the people close to me, you got to know before you're in the tough situation what you're going to do, right? And a lot of that is pre-planning what's coming. If you wait, we're all human, all of us. And if we're in a challenging situation, whatever tempts you, if that's, you name it, if it's drugs or alcohol or gambling or tobacco or sex, whatever it is, right? If you are not prepared mentally, a lot of us will make the wrong decision when put in there suddenly. But if you know, hey, listen, if I walk in and this is going, I'm out, right? Or when this happens, I'm gone. Or hey, I'm not going to be in a situation with somebody one-on-one. When you decide beforehand what it is, that's half the battle, because we're all vulnerable in the moment. When we're suddenly in a new thing, I know for me, when I am, it's palpable in a new situation or in a weird place or somewhere I'm not used to, it's like, woo, like all my senses are popping, and it's like, oh, should I be here? What's going on? Is this good? This is bad. I probably should go. You know what I mean? But if you know beforehand, oh, I've experienced this. That is the first step in my mind to being comfortable or being okay dealing with being uncomfortable.
It's so cool. I just coached a friend the other day that he had a big interview internally, big interview with a C-level person. He's multiple levels below C-level. And I said, hey, we both know you got a couple of things that you might, habits or things that you might do. And he said, I'm just not going to do them in this interview. I said, let's pretend you do. because listen, to say you're not going to do something you've done 90% of the meetings you've ever been in, or 90% of the conversation you've ever been in, to say, this is so important, I'm not going to do it. Because it's so important, your stress is going to be so high, you're probably most likely to do it in this environment. So instead of saying you're not going to do it, what are you going to do if that happens? What are you going to do? Let's just say it does happen. What are you going to do? So we literally we just came up with a couple of phrases that he could use when he got into that situation to pull back out. To literally, instead of, because you can't run out of the interview and be successful, but how do you realize, like, ooh, this is where I get, and this is where I usually free up or start sweating or whatever the thing is I'm trying to avoid. What can I say right now to pull back or readjust?
Listen, I would just say, in classic kind of interview training, or what's the norm, like, I've just owning that and saying it out loud to me is always so powerful. Like, we are, again, wired as people. When it gets weird or awkward, or, it's like, oh, let me avoid this thing. Let me, oh, how do I bait and switch? Look over there. Oh, this is not happening. Like, I'll just say for everybody, if somebody walks out of the recovery world or in the recovery world, it's like, when you say it out loud, it loses all its power. When you say it out loud, it literally, whatever you're afraid of, ashamed of, something in your past, whatever it is, you just saying it, like, it's amazing how it changes the whole environment and whatever you're in. And we are wired to, like, let's ignore that or act like that didn't happen. Like, walking in and be like, hey, I know you have this on my my file. Let me just own these things and talk about them. It, like, the air comes out of the balloon, because we all feel that way when we go to, the pressure is big. If you're in the interview for the job of your dreams, you meet somebody you weren't expected to meet, you have the opportunity to go speak, the pressure, the balloon is like this balloon, pressure. And if you just walk on stage and be like, hey, normally I don't do this, I'm a little nervous, so hope this goes well, it can be, everyone just takes a deep breath with you. And so that's part of the 180 way of owning your stuff publicly versus trying to hide it or stuff it or ignore it, because it comes out no matter what. It may not come out that hour, but it's coming out because it's how you're wired, right? That's just part of who we are.
And there's discretion in there too, right? We want to make sure that there's no secrets inside us. We think we need to keep some secrets to the grave, and they're not healthy. They're just eating pits in certain organs of our body. Like, it's just killing us. And so we need to tell somebody that's important, like, hey, who would it hurt me the most if they found out? Good, they're going to find out from me, right? Because inside me, there's an extortionist, right? There's an extortionist that wants to extort me. And basically, it's not trying to steal money from me, steal chunks of life, health, and keep me in an emotionally poor state, as opposed to being on top of my game, not really victim to my circumstances, overcoming life as it comes at me, because I'm not being extorted by this.
Yeah. I lost you. Did I lose you or did you lose me? Frozen. So I don't know, maybe we lost Mike in South Florida. Maybe they turned off the internet. Are you back? Frozen. Hey, so listen, I want to add, as I'm sure Mike will pop back in here, the 180 way, and trying to figure out how it's different from your comfort zone. That's really what we're focused on, and that's really what we talk about. And in, by the way, all areas. Oh, I see you back. Right, we lost you down in South Florida. Can I hear you? Can you hear me?
I think you can hear me.
You're still a little blurry. Yeah. Wait, you're still a little blurry. You're good. You're coming back. DeSantis turned off the internet in South Florida for 30 seconds. It's all the power grid. Today's we're going. We're going to recyclable, or less. What is it? Less environmentally abusive type energy. So makes everything blip. Go ahead. You want to finish?
So I don't know.
Okay. I got it. So
I lost my thought.
I got it. No, it's cool. So what I said is, listen, we are talking about how doing it different, even in the scenario that you just painted, Mike, of like somebody trying to, like, I don't know, excuse away how they are or what's happened. I would just so encourage everyone to lean into it and own your stuff. But it feels uncomfortable. Even that feels uncomfortable. It is taking a risk. And just for the record, I'm not saying it always works great. I'm just trying to, when we talk about the 180 way and living a happy, peaceful, success-driven life, it is about, hey, what are the attributes of that? And so I'm not saying every time you do it different, it turns out well, because every once in a while you'll do it different, and the person that's maybe your boss or in the room or you're trying to date or whatever hates it, and they go, oh, you're an idiot. But I'm just saying you have a better shot of standing out, getting what you want, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone than you do trying to be like everybody else and deny what's happening and put on your fake mask of I'm the perfect employee, I'm the perfect spouse, I'm the perfect, volunteer. It's not that way. And the more you own it and say it is amazing. It is so freeing. And people, I'll just tell you, are drawn to it. Like when we mentioned David Goggins earlier, you follow the story, forget his whole life story. He just talks about trying to publish his book. He put his book out there for literally hundreds of publishers. Like, no one cares about your stupid book. You're just some Navy SEAL. No one's going to care. He literally had to go through the whole self-publishing process, and it exploded, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can't listen to maybe what everyone else is saying, what the norm is. There's very little money success in the norm of what people do. So that mindset is what I think is most powerful.
It's crazy that the self-publishing route these days can be, you can literally promote your book. You can do everything virtually. You can print it virtually. You can do everything from right now. We could be putting books together, promoting them, getting them out. In the old days, you had to go get your books printed, hard copy, put them in the trunk of your car and drive to a bookstore and see if they would put your book on the shelf. I mean, it used to be just such a grinding way of getting it done.
Yeah.
And people, and there's some people that are super famous that's what they had to do. They had to go put their, they had a different story. They had a little different way. It was, it doesn't seem like it's going to fit our audience. Well, they believed in their book and their message more than society did, more than the book publishers did, but listen, that's game changers, right? Because everybody else, what's the thing? What do you call a new movie? A remake, not a remake. Anyways, everybody's coming out with a new movie of the old movie. It was big in the 70s, the 80s. Let's make it again because, with a little twist, but the same exact, script. It's like
a lot of TV shows. What's interesting in TV shows, they're changing the ethnicity or the sex of the main star. You know what I mean? It's very interesting. They're like, we're gonna
reboot. They're doing a reboot. And what's really interesting is that, listen, that's because because they don't like change, right? They like to go, hey, this worked before, we think it'll work again. It's an easier bet. But if you got a message that's new, and I think the 180 way is new, it's different. It's like saying, hey, what everybody's telling you how it works, that's the direction everybody's going in. And if it worked, everybody would be making it. And it's still, the percentages of successful people are still the same. We'd like to change that.
Yeah, I think one of the things we're trying to do too, which we'll release and talk about soon, is like doing life with folks. It's not if you think you're going to go to a seminar or an hour-long speech or read a book and change your life, it's just not going to happen. I mean, that no one wants to talk about that. You could go spend Tony Robbins, God bless, has like these 5-day things now, not just a weekend, but inevitably after that is a couple days, which you're immersed, or even in the recovery world, 30 days, you're going to do a 30-day program. You're like in such a bubble, and then you got to go back out into the real world of real world problems and real life and people around you. And it really is in that setting, can you succeed? Can you get there? And so we didn't get here overnight and in a weekend, right? We didn't create the problems we plateaued or the issues we have. And you're not going to fix it in one book or one seminar or one weekend or a 5-day course. It's just not going to happen. It's about, hey, how do you do life with people over an extended period of time to change some of their core operational models, subconscious things that are taking place. And that's really what the 180 Way is focused on, about interjecting and doing life with people so that they pivot 180 degrees of what they've really heard their whole life. It's like unwiring these things. We talked about last week, like, don't talk about money, politics, and religion. And you're like, gosh, those are three of the most impactful things in your entire life. And to tell people, don't talk about those, you're like, it's such bad advice. It's insane. So crazy.
Well, it's interesting, Jack. The thought that I had before my internet went out was around discretion, right? That discretion, there's 3 parts to discretion were really interesting to me as we were preparing for the show and being, stepping out of your comfort zone. But discretion is the 3 parts are circumspect, right? Be self-actualized or be aware, self-awareness and around you, who you are and what's around you. And then it was the choices we make. are like make the right choices. But then when you make the choice, tact, right? TACT, tact. There's a better way, right? So when you think about it, there's a best way for me to think about myself. There's a best choice, and there's a best way to handle the situation. Because sometimes I decide I'm going to. My friend that I helped, that I did coaching with the other day, I said, "Hey, can I be extremely blunt with you?" Like, he knows, like, this is not going to be fun. The next 5 minutes are going to be awful for Mike. And like, that's just like, I knew when it came out of my mouth. I go, I don't. I've had a good beaker today and a bad beaker, but but when I realized, like, no, I'm not giving myself a card that I can just do poorly now. There's a better way. So I just took a step back and asked them some questions. Instead of me saying, I asked them some questions, and I never pulled that question back about, can I be blunt with you today? But I just kept asking questions instead of being blunt. And I think I recovered because the tact was poor, right? You're just trying to say, I don't have time to really think this through. I don't have time to really consider the best way to communicate with you today. So will you give me a pass and just say I can communicate poorly with you because I think it's important? Like, no, do your best. Do your best about you, understand, be truthful about yourself, make really good try to make better choices, and then find a best or better way to execute on that choice, because all of that adds up to making a shorter route, right? Because listen, if I do the thing I didn't think I had time, you use poor tact, you're about spending 3 years to recover this relationship instead of the 20 minutes you were trying to save by saying it poorly, right?
Yeah, and I think as we start to wrap, it's in all parts of what you're doing. Again, we talked about in the athletic or physical world, it's more accepted. But hey, what can you do? We talk about this, and when we do life interventions with folks, what can you do to harden yourself to be more peaceful with the unrest you're going to feel in work situations that are outside the norm? You got to go present in front of the CEO. But all of a sudden, someone fired or quit, or you have some interaction in the office or maybe online now that you didn't expect. How do you get comfortable with that so you handle it better? And one of those, again, is knowing in the situation, what will you do? Be silent, walk away, take 5. When you have some models in advance, or in your financial world, hey, it's coming right now. If you're not paying attention, it's coming in the financial world, right? We're on the way down, and I don't think we've hit rock bottom yet. So as that starts to happen in the coming year, because everyone's going to take a hit of this, how do you feel and how do you respond? And are you one of those people that always tell you not to do your 401 and your portfolio is going down, so then you sell it and then it's a double loss? And how do you handle that discomfort? And then I would just say, in your dating, in your personal life, in your married life, like, those moments are coming. If marriage was easy, half of them wouldn't end. And so relationships are tough. And like, when those moments come, are you prepared? And if you're not, then it implodes, right? If you walk around and go, this should be so much easier, that's such a false bill of goods. Work's not easy. Relationships are not easy. Finances are not easy. And if you walk in thinking that, you're dooming yourself to fail. That's the reality.
It's just interesting how, like, you've got to get through kindergarten to get to calculus, right? And so many times, part of our life, we don't want to get to calculus. We just want to stay in kindergarten. And emotionally, if I'm throwing a tantrum because I'm not getting my way, I'm in kindergarten. I'm not acting like a kid. I'm not the calculus level of my emotions. And so we have to get better. We have to, and listen, better with emotions requires risk. You cannot get better in your emotions in your comfort zone. You've got to risk. Like, one of the things I had to learn was you have to risk heartbreak. And, because so many times the movies tell us heartbreak, our broken heart is like worse than dying. It's like, no, you're going to survive it. So you're going to survive it. So risk it and let's get on with it. Let's figure out the best.
It makes you better too. Listen, that thing that happens to all of us with our first love and high school, it makes you a better spouse down the road. Because when you live in fear of something you've not gone through, when you go through that, it just makes us, you're a much better, typically, spouse, mate, when you've experienced a couple things along the way than if most first relationships don't make it because that's the only thing you know, and that's the only thing they know in high school, and you're like, oh, we're figuring this out together. But once you have a broader perspective, you're just a better person to be with, right? In all parts of life.
I think we lie to ourselves, and I'll finish with this, Jack. I think we lie to ourselves and say, if this happens or this doesn't happen, I'm just going to die.
Yeah.
And it's such a powerful negative lie to us, because the truth is we're 99.9% of us are going to survive the event.
Yeah.
We're going to make it through. But instead of saying, okay, what am I going to do if that happens? What's my best move? We just operated like somebody's buying a casket for me. So we checked out from being participatory. Be intentional. Know that the fall is coming. Get good at getting up now before you fall, because it's coming. And if you put it off, if you put up, if you're walking around life with invisible shin guards and knee guards and helmets and all this stuff to keep you from getting hurt when you fall, it's like, listen, that's part of it. You've got to get up with your wounds and with your bandages, and you've got to get back in the game. And I love what the point Jack is making is that the emotional ones hurt the most, right? A broken heart hurts more than a broken leg every time. And so, but we survived them both. And guess what? Broken heart, broken leg, you're going to walk with a limp for a little while. One's physical, one's emotional, but you're going to get your stride back. It's coming. Just stay at it.
Well, and one of the things, as we wrap is, they say, I think the science, 90% of things we worry about don't happen. Like, I just want to repeat that. 90% of what we worry about does not happen. We are our own worst. Last week I told the story about the lady who thought she saw a snake when she was out in the wilderness, and it was a rope. And our mind, 90% of what we worry about, our mind is our worst enemy, right? It's like so bad. We think and worry about things that never happen. And so, again, I think this is just so important. Like, hey, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because most of what we worry about doesn't happen. And if you just do some pre-planning mentally, emotionally, mindset-wise, you are just going to be better prepared, because this thing of like, oh, I just want it all to be easy and comfortable and great and is not going to work. I just want to be very clear. No one gets there straight. No one gets there peacefully. I don't care who the most happy, loving, carefree person it is. It's not because their life is easy. You know why they're like that? Because foundationally, they're emotionally like that. They're mentally like that. It's not like, what is that? 90% of it's 10% is what's happened, and 90% is how we internalize it. I mean, that's so true. And it's just a false bill of goods that if you think it's going to be easy, no shot. It's not going to be easy. So you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Amen? Good? Any last words, Michael?
Well, I just think that as your mind sometimes in fear, the fears are telling you, what if this happens and what if that happens? I think sometimes with the other voice needs to come through and say, let's go find out.
Yes. It'll be great. 90% of the time, unless you're jumping out of the plane, it's going to be fine no matter what. Amen? It'll make you better. Even, again, if you just look at it as a learning experience instead of something bad that happened, it's great. Learn. I would say to all the people around me, my last thought is entrepreneurially, which is where I spent most of my life. When I'm around people, it's like, it's okay. Like today's society, like to take minimal risks, try it, do it while no one's watching, do it, do it on your own dime, So when it's big, when you're making the same decision, when it has 6 zeros after it, you're prepared. You don't want the first time you ask for money to be your big deal. You don't want the first time you go through some business trauma to be your big deal. You want to do it now in small scale, learn, experience, fire people, hire people, get financing, have failure, have success. And then when your big deal's on the table, your big moments on the table, you're like, I've done this, right? I've already done this. I've been through 10 of these, and you're much calmer. So it's better to go through it early when less people are watching, kind of like this show. Cool. We will see you next week with step 5 of the 180 way, which is kind of take accountability. Until then,
killing in the name of